Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Track with Daniel Blair. I'm Daniel Blair. Huge shout out to Cooper Tires. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this series. It's been a fun one so far, and I don't doubt that this one's going to be just as fun because we're going to talk about a lot of things, ranging from a lot of topics. It's going to be good. Yarrive Konsky joins me from Penrite Honda. And Yarrive, I'm going to ask you the weirdest first question of all time.
Okay.
What's tomorrow like? Because you're in Australia. You're a day ahead of us. Today's been okay for us, but I just want to know what's tomorrow bringing us, because you're already there.
Well, our weather's going to be good tomorrow because we're heading into summer, and I don't want to have you depressed hanging out for tomorrow, me telling you it's going to be really bad. So right now, tomorrow is good. I want to know what yesterday's like, because my yesterday, it had a lot of things going on. It was a work day for us, and you guys were, it was Sunday for you. It was the weekend. You got to relax.
It was wonderful, but now we're getting into the groove. You know what's crazy is we're always chasing you. You guys, you always stay the same amount ahead. We chase you every day, but hopefully it's going well.
We can thank Chad Reed for that. We can thank Burner for that, Metcalf for that, Casey Stoner for that. But trust me, you guys seem to be in front of us in many ways, and we're still trying to catch up to you guys. So yeah, it's good.
Hey, in popularity and hype, I think we're chasing around that Jett Lawrence kid a little bit.
Daniel, I mean, what a sensation. Seriously. For the sport in general, like the color that he brings, the character that he brings. I mean, it's a great element to add that he's Australian. I mean, that in itself creates character. A very different character to, say, the likes of Chad Reed or Burner or Metcalf, who were very straight and just purely focused. I don't think you would have ever seen any of them pick up a donut in front of a camera. But, you know, that's good. We need that. We need that colour in sport. And it's great to see Jett bring it through. And hopefully he encourages a lot of other riders to just be themselves, because we become very clean cut and focused and nervous about saying the wrong thing. And then you've got him coming through just saying how he feels and what he thinks. And, you know, it's good. I think sometimes the filter is too much that we place on some people, and they lose themselves, and we don't get to know them, and they're all hiding behind a helmet anyway. So rarely do we get to know the characters in our sport, and Jett just throws it straight out there, and I really hope it encourages other riders to be themselves.
I'm with you 100%. It's a breath of fresh air for sure. And, hey, it doesn't hurt that he's pretty good too, right? I mean, hey, it'd be great if he was all funny and having a good time, but if he was way back in the pack, then whatever. But we need someone like that on the podium. That's what we need, and I think we got both.
He needs to be seen and heard, and he is, and that's going to bring a lot of flavour to Supercross, to the sport globally, to a new audience, to a younger audience. And I don't know about you, Daniel, but, you know, when we lose the likes of Ricky Carmichael and, let's say, in MotoGP, Valentino Rossi, you kind of sit back and go, okay, we need to transition into a new colourful character who's ridiculously fast, because as you just said, if they're not fast, then they get lost in the crowd. And hopefully we've got that with Jett. I think we've got Adam Cincerillo who brings his own flavour, Kenny who brings his, and Eli who brings his. They're all very different. And I think Jett adds that different flavour to it that we all need right now. And it's exciting. I mean, I watched Parla. I looked at the butt patches, and, you know, it creates the hype that we need right now. We don't want to become stale, especially during this period that we're all experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, good timing to have someone fun like that. And again, to have him up front, he needs that combo. Hey, let's talk about you, though. I don't know much about your program coming into 2020, so let's reverse a year ago. I know what you've done in Australia. I know Justin Brayton. Jacob Hayes is a good friend of mine. He's been over there. He's spoken highly of you as an individual and your team. So I was somewhat aware, but then you guys came kind of bursting in that West Coast 250 championship. And from what I understand, you didn't have crazy prep. You weren't over here way early. You guys were coming in, throwing it all together as quick as you possibly could. I had Luke Clout, Mitchell Oldenburg, both on Race Day Live with me. I mean, you guys kind of made a big impact real quick. I mean, you got leading heat races. You had those guys up front. I guess just tell me a little bit about just throwing it all together last year, last minute, because I didn't hear about it till late. And then the next thing you know, you guys are there with a presence and your guys are out front. Just kind of walk me through just how this all happened.
I met JB back in 2016. Seriously, the story's been told, but via an Instagram post. I've been trying to reach out to him, and he didn't even realize you could send messages. His wife said to him, "You do realize you've got all of these messages on Instagram?" And he's reading through them. I mean, we're both quite old. I'm a lot older than he is. But anyway, he spotted that Instagram message and replied, and we developed a relationship. And he's such a giving person that he would constantly say to me, "So what do you want to do?" And I think forever and a day, I wanted to be in America as a racer, and I wasn't quite good enough. And then, you know, when you looked at what Mitch Payton did, Mitch Payton was actually a big influence on me with what he did with the Peak Honda team growing up. And I'm like, I want to be there. I want to create a program over there. I think there's great scope commercially to develop a program that could be sustainable, bring out some new out of industry partners that hopefully can help grow the sport as well. Anyway, so JB kept at me like, "Are you going to come? Are you going to come? Why don't you just do a few rounds?" And then we signed Luke Clout late last year, and it was like, "Luke, do you want to do 2 or 3 rounds?" And I got to know Mitchell Oldenburg well, and Mitchell's like, "Well, why don't we do something?" And Mitchell, again, I mean, he was so supportive. He's like, "I don't mind if we turn up in a van, or it doesn't matter how we go, as long as we've just got good motorcycles, we'll be okay." And he was quite impressed with the motorcycles that we had here in Australia when he rode them. And really happy with the entire program that he experienced out here. And that, coupled with the confidence that Justin gave me with how our program operates here in Australia, I thought, well, let's put our toe in the water. And that was like October last year, mid-October last year. And I got on the phone to Jamie from Twisted Development. I wanted to put some things in place. I don't want it to sound like motocross or supercross racing is simple, but if you've got some really good core people around you, you can be competitive. And I hope the privateers out there take this on board, that a fancy truck doesn't give you the result that you're looking for on track. A lot of them think it does. But yeah, I wanted to surround us with some good people. I was fortunate enough to have Ricky Gilmore at KYB, another fellow Aussie who's been over in the US for quite a considerable amount of time, and Jamie from Twisted, really close friends with Brett. So that year that Brett rode, I think it was a Suzuki, it might have been a privateer Cowie. I'd like to think it was 15 or 16 that he rode. Sorry for not remembering the date, the year, but he's like, "Jamie's all over it. He'd like to be a part of the program." I rang Jamie, found him a really honourable, honest person. And I thought, okay, we've got the motors ticked. I looked into Jamie's history, the success he had with Davey Millsaps and that Rockstar Suzuki team. And Brett's like family to me. We've grown up together. I raced his brother Shane. And I spoke to Ricky. Ricky got us hooked up with KYB, which was fantastic. Enzo jumped in as well. But that whole program, the chassis program, came together quite quickly, and they were extremely supportive. And then I just spoke to a few of our other partners. WPS is a primary partner of us here in Australia through their distributor, McLeod's. And I've got to know Max a little bit. I've flown to the States to watch Justin a couple of times over the last couple of years. And Max and Craig and Terry, I mean, they've been phenomenal. Like, you know, I can't thank them enough. And that's half the reason that I'm so comfortable about supporting Americans coming here as well as me going over there. Anyway, it came together in like 4 weeks. And Ben Townley rang me. BT's ending up being one of my closest friends. And he's like, "I bet you turn up to round 1 with a semi. You can't help yourself, Yarrive. You'll want to do it properly." And I'm like, no, JB's driven his Sprinter van across from North Carolina to Temecula. It's there for me. And he rings me back in a week and he's like, "You got a semi, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, we're done. We're good." It's like first or second week in November. We're picking up the trailer and we're starting to get everything rolling. It was very unusual for me to be so unorganized with so many balls in the air, because obviously preparation's key to getting good results. But I was fortunate that we had an 18-year history with Honda here in Australia. We knew the motorcycle really well, and we had some key people in America that we'd already been working with for almost a decade, and we were able to bring it together quite quickly, and everyone jumped on board. we turned up to round one, and the only thing that really wasn't organised was the wrap on the truck was being finished. And I think because the few people that wrap trucks in America were doing everyone else's teams at the last minute. Seems to be the way with our sport. Everything happens in the last week, but it's something that I try and avoid. But yeah, it came together quick. But I've dreamt of this since I was a kid. You know, the story goes, for those that know, that, you know, we used to travel to the race meetings in the back of my dad's cab. He was a taxi driver. There were times where he'd put a KX60 in the boot to get us to the track. And there's a picture of my dad putting a bike on the roof racks of the car. And ever since back then, I would look forward to those Fox videotapes that used to come out, you know, with McGrath and Lamson and Henry and Bradshaw and those bikes. And, you know, I went from just loving riding my dirt bike to really loving the sport. And, yeah, to walk out at A1 on the start line and talking about it now, I'm actually getting shivers. Like I still can't believe it. I watch videos pretty well every day when I'm training and stuff, and I just sit back and go, well, we were there. You know, I didn't get a chance to meet you this year, Daniel, but I've watched your career, and I've seen what you've done afterwards. But getting to know Sean from Supercross, the welcoming we've had from Mike Mewey, it's been overwhelming. And yeah, that's how it came together. JB kept at me, Yarrive, you're going to do this. You're going to do it. Just do it. Just do it. And, you know, as a racer, there's a lot of self-doubt. Like, should I be there? Can I do it? Am I imposing on someone else's position? And you start creating reasons why you shouldn't do it as to reasons why you should. And JB's been good to work, you know, we work off one another. And it was like, okay, we're doing this. And we turned up, and, you know, COVID got in the way of me coming back after, I think, round 8 or 9. But I had a great crew of people over there with Nate Alexander and Aaron Clout and Luke Clout and Mitchell and Jamie and Ricky and Rachel. And, you know, they were able to see the season out. And, you know, we got a couple of top fives. And as you said, we led a heat race. To have Mitchell and Luke leading a heat race together, yeah, it was good. It was good for everyone that backed us too. More importantly, it was good for them because there's a lot of people that really rallied together to make it happen quickly.
Yeah, like you said, it was quick. You couldn't help yourself but show up like you did. Like I said, to me, that was what was impressive, is you guys showed up, but you immediately looked the part. And to your point, the performance is the most important thing. And those bikes being out front like that proved that, okay, not only did we get it together in the pits, but look what we can do in the track. So, I mean, like I said, for putting it together the way you guys did, you guys made an immediate impact, which is great for the beginning of a team. And I know that you want to continue this thing. I guess we'll kind of jump a little bit ahead, then kind of out of the order I wanted to go, but you're back for next year. You guys are coming back, and I know you have a long-term plan, and I know it's not easy right now. The world it's in a fragile place, but you're back, right? We're going to see you again?
Yeah, we're definitely coming back. I must admit there were times there in which I was uncertain because there was so much uncertainty. And I mean, I think everyone's experiencing it. All the manufacturers, teams, riders, Feld, you know, there is a lot of uncertainty in the air, but there's one thing that I am certain about is my love for this sport hasn't changed, and my commitment to where I'd like to be and how I'd like to help some riders achieve their goals hasn't wavered. So, yeah, we're definitely back next year.
Love to hear it. Okay, I'll get back on track to what I want to do next. One thing about you, okay, America and United States and Australia have had this relationship in the racing world for a long time. We've had, you know, Chad Reed, Michael Byrne, these riders come over. And then you guys have had your Supercross series too, where a lot of riders go there every year. They look forward to it. Justin Brayton being the main one. I mean, I've heard him say it 100 times. It's the best part of his year. It's how it's just been great. But there's also some things that get brought up in conversations about you and your team, because you guys do bring a lot of American riders out. You reach out a lot. I know you've been doing that for a long time, and I know that doesn't always get received well on your end. Can you just kind of tell us what your method is in deciding riders and that relationship again with the United States and just the way you operate things?
There's two parts to that question, and it's a great question. One part is commercially, I have real responsibilities to deliver results. You know, whether it's Honda, HRC, Fly, our other partners that are involved, you know, they're putting a lot of money and resource into us, and the expectation is that we put our motorcycles out in front. If we're out in front, then we're selling DID chains, we're selling Penrite, we're selling Honda, we're selling Fly, you know, we're selling our helmet partners, our goggle partner, you know, so, you know, FMF. So there's a real commercial reality to that. And I felt that the best riders that were available sometimes were the riders out of the US. I take out what race, religion, gender they are. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a great motorcyclist and you want to ride for our program and you can deliver results, I'll give you a home to do that. The other thing for me was what I felt our sport needed. And I've maintained this philosophy for a long time. People in Australia follow the American riders, the American Supercross Championship. It's very well received. The live television broadcast of it is watched by hundreds of thousands here in Australia. And by bringing over riders who have a great following, we can lift the exposure of our sport in Australia. And I don't want to feel or have anyone misconstrue this as though I'm taking advantage, but I wanted to leverage that and capitalize on their reach. And inviting them over only elevates our sport. Not only that, a lot of the pro riders here will admit that it also has elevated them and given them an opportunity to step up. I don't think Luke would have ever ventured back to America hadn't he been as competitive as he was with Justin. He gave him a sense of confidence, and same as Aaron Tanti, who came over for Supercross this year, and Jay Wilson came over for Supercross this year in America, and I believe Aaron Tanti will be back next year to compete in Supercross for one of the privateer Yamaha teams, which is fantastic. But I believe bringing over Jacob Hayes, and I appreciate what you said about Jacob because he's a really lovely guy, very polite, well-mannered, and super appreciative of support. Same as Josh Osby, a lot of the Americans that have come over. Riders in general, hopefully, I think around the world, are super appreciative of the support that they're given no matter where they ride. Like, I haven't found too many riders that don't appreciate the efforts teams go to. But yeah, I think that Josh being over here, Osby and Jacob Hayes and Gavin Faith with me and Jimmy Dakotas, and I know I'm missing a couple, I apologize, but that's given everyone a sense of, I suppose, a sense of confidence and enabled them to go, you know what, I'm going to take that chance. Now, hadn't these American riders come over, I think the Australians would have potentially not gone and competed in America. I mean, we live in an amazing, huge world, and why not take it on? I mean, why limit yourself? So the same applies here. I felt like bringing American riders over would help elevate the sport, and I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have McGrath come over and compete under our rig twice now. Davey Millsaps has come over. Kevin Wyndham, now there's a huge character. And those riders and many others, JB, Dakotas, Gavin Faith, Weston Pike came over and rode. They have helped elevate our sport to a higher level. And when we compete with them the way we're getting to now, like we are racing with the likes of our Australian riders are racing with the likes of JB, and you know, I think Luke Clout put it on pole or got second, and we're talking tenths to Jason Anderson, World Supercross champion. It does definitely elevate our sport and the level of respect the Australians have, our audienceship over here for our Australian riders. And you know, I would say 5 or 10 years ago, Chad would be coming out here and would have lapped up to 4th or 5th. And I'm not exaggerating, like that's how far advanced they were. And I believe we've been able to bridge the gap by bringing over some great American riders, some top 5 guys and some world champions. And I think it's been fantastic for the sport. So yeah, I have to deliver results to our sponsors. So I'm always looking for the best rider that can help us deliver those results. And equally, I feel a sense of responsibility to help elevate our sport here. And by bringing over named riders, we can expose our sport to a much wider audience. And just lastly, Daniel, through social media, there is no limit to reach. Back in the day, we'd get a Fox videotape 3 weeks after the race meeting. And that was our interaction with what was going on in America. And we'd see riding gear for the first time 1 or 2 months after it had been ridden with, and now it's instantaneous. So as far as I'm concerned, we have global partners being WPS. We're sponsored by a Japanese manufacturer. We're sponsored by a Japanese tire company, and we're sponsored by a European tire company. Doesn't matter where it is or who the sponsor is. It's a global platform. And why limit ourselves now? Because anything that we do in Australia is instantaneously seen in every other part of the world. So I need the right people supporting our brands.
You've been at this now for a while, and you've obviously built your own brand by connecting all the brands. Like you said, it's a worldwide thing. It's not just a national thing at home. And now you're here. You've got riders. Again, last year you had Luke, so you had a home-based rider. You had Mitchell, which is an American rider who is known here. You've got the relationship with Brayton. Has this always been kind of your vision on doing things, or have you kind of grown over time and like kind of, steered your way to where you are now? Or has this kind of always been your vision of just, collaborating this thing as broad as you do? Because again, racing in Australia and now coming here and having the riders that you had and the ones you're having and the conversations of other riders out there that were looking at your team for next year, your brand as a race manager and as a program is elevated pretty fast on the American eyes. Is that something that you've looked at doing for a long time? It just took time to take shape, or are you just kind of going as it goes and this was the time?
I needed to make it the time. I think otherwise time would have got away from me. I probably should have done it 10 years ago. And I mean that I've been very, very involved in our sport here in Australia. I had my own magazine called Stroke that we published for 4 years. And I've put on events here before in Australia, and I've wanted to be in America. I've wanted to potentially be in MotoGP, even in the event management, media and marketing side. I just want to see our sport grow considerably, and I want to be a part of that growth. But it just got to a point where, I thought I'd be married with children now. And sadly, I'm not going to say I've missed it entirely. Who knows, I might meet an American girl and we'll see what happens. But I just thought I'm 45. Well, last year I was 44 when I made the decision. I'm 46 in a couple of weeks, and it's getting away from me, and it's where I've wanted to be for a long time. And we are limited in Australia because of our population, our reach, the commercial realities that we face here. It's all relative to how many people we're exposed to, and we are competing with traditional sports here that have such a huge following that, I thought I needed to make that break to America. It's such a wider audience, and see if I can make that work, bring in some new out-of-industry partners, work closely with Feld, try and get some different activations happening to, again, bring in a new audience or at least attract a different audience within the audience that's there to our program by doing things slightly differently. But when is a good time and a bad time to hit a triple, Daniel? You just need to go for it sometimes. And I just thought I needed to hit this thing. Normally I would overjump. My Supercross skills aren't the best, but it needed to happen. Just sad, or not sad, it's just been a struggle with COVID, because it's always good to have that personal interaction when you're talking to people. And whether I could or couldn't, a lot of companies have shut down working from home. And then the travel restrictions that are in place have sort of have made it challenging and trying, but haven't slowed us down. We're definitely trying to move forward. But hopefully within the next 2 to 3 years, who knows where we are in the States. I definitely do have a long game. I'd like to spend a considerable amount of time in America, and I love racing. It's the unpredictability I love. Like you go to the start line every time. It's, have we done everything right? Can we do it? Yep. You believe in your program and your product, and I don't care where I'm racing in the world, to be honest, with regards to that. It excites me every time we get to a racetrack, even if it's a club event down here and there's only 50 people at the racetrack. But yeah, the audience in America gives you things that I enjoy doing outside of racing, and that's talk to new commercial partners and bring new people in to create greater growth for everyone. And yeah, that's something I thrive on, the creativity behind the race team, as well as the technical side of it.
Yarrive, it's obvious you're competitive. Like you said, you want to do well. You want the best for your riders and for yourself. So there's that side of Supercross, right, where you show up, you want to compete. Like you said, the gate's getting ready to drop, that unknown, but you want success, that competition side. But what I noticed last year is that you guys took it upon yourself to be way more active in the pits. You got right at it with St. Jude. Like, you jumped right on board and said, what can we do? That part is important also for branding and for teams and for everybody. Is that the way you are back at home too with everything? Or did you see, again, this is an opportunity where you had to make an impact, and the best thing to do is to come at it wide open in every way, not only on the track, but what you do in the pits too? Because it's obviously noticed by us that you guys came right out and were a part of all the things that we're a part of. Was there a method to that? Is that just, trying to immediately fit in, or?
The St. Jude thing, no, there was no method there. That was personal. Like, I'll get emotional now talking about it. We're so lucky to get to do what we do. And growing up, I feel like I'm telling a lot of stories, but I've never got to talk to anyone in America on this platform, so it's good. Growing up, I played Australian rules football. It's called the AFL. You would have seen it in a couple of movies with Eric Banner. But my captain in the team, Russell was his name, he had leukemia, and it scared the crap out of me when I went to hospital. He was on all of the drugs that bloat you, and I think from that day forward, I felt a sense of appreciation for my health. I've broken, God, I don't want to admit how many bones I've broken and the amount of operations I've had, but I lost my uncle in 2018. I actually had to fly home early from Vegas Supercross because he wasn't well to cancer. And I lost my mum's partner of I think 12 years to cancer again, and also my auntie in only the last 10 years. But I remember seeing Russell on the bed. And then to go with that, my best friend, Paul Broomfield, some people will know who I'm talking about, one of our great motocross riders, represented Australia at the Des Nations. I had a riding schools company, which we did around Australia, and we visited primary and secondary schools, and he was my man. Like, he was my best friend, and he was there for me through, we all have difficult times as racers where we have some really dark times and wonder what we're doing, and Paul was always there for me. Had a very rare blood disorder that I thought they had got under control, and they didn't. And I got a phone call from his mum to fly to Sydney and to say my goodbyes. And those are reminders that, I'm here talking to you in America. I got the guys from Feld inviting me to press days. I got Honda dirt bikes on the racetrack. And if I can give a mini bike away to a cause that just needs it, and I don't need that, what am I going to do with that extra money? Like, I'm being honest, my holidays every weekend at the racetrack, I'm in a motel room, I walk down to the start line, I'm amongst beautiful people, and if I can use some of the relationships I've had to help some of the children that need it most, yeah, that was what that's about. But all the other stuff that we do, the videos, the activations, you know, we had some colouring in competitions here in Australia during COVID to keep kids active, tyre competitions. Yeah, I love doing all that stuff, and you need to do it. You need to differentiate yourself. Even when you're winning, you need to differentiate yourself because your competition might do it. But yeah, I love all of the activations and creativity. But with regards to charities, no, we should do it. You know, they can't do it. They want to do it. Those kids that are interactive from St. Jude's in our sport would love to be riding a dirt bike, and they can't. So if I can give them that little ray of hope that we're fighting for them, then, you know, it's good. That's the only reason we did the St. Jude thing, and I want to continue doing it. I see how much Supercross gets behind it, and for the same reason Supercross gets behind it, we're 100% behind it, because two parts Felder right behind us and have welcomed us, and the industry in America has welcomed us, and if we can support one of their charities, then, you know, I'm all in, and I really don't want nothing for it. I just want to see some kids happy. So yeah, it was cool to be a part of. It was something I've watched you guys do for many years, the T-shirts, and I just thought, yeah. So yeah, no, that was completely different. But I love the activations and creative side of things. I love sending stuff to the guys at WPS with kangaroos in it in South Australia when they brought out that salmon gear. I had some creative ideas with that salmon gear, but they got knocked on the head. But yeah, I love all of that.
Yeah, it's funny. You got me all watered up now too, man. Because I mean, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, so we've had the opportunity the last couple of years to do this special thing with St. Jude. I got to give Ryan Dungey. I mean, God, what a great move that was for him to get this going and where it's gone. But I'm with you. There's something special about those weekends too when we do the graphics and we do those. It's just there's a different mood because I don't know. I'm with you. I think we're blessed. Do you feel like we get caught up in the grind of get the bike better, get the suspension better, okay, the track, let's go? And it's good to every once in a while just have a little breather and realize, like, God, we're pretty lucky. Like we are lucky what we do.
Yeah, we're fortunate beyond measure. You know, people measure success too often with money. They really do. And we get caught up in that. And it's hard not to, because if you do something well and it's a job, you get paid. But people really get caught up in it. And I'm not suggesting that because people misconstrue things like this, but I'm not suggesting people don't get paid their worth. But you do need to check yourself sometimes. And I get emotional over things like that because I've seen it firsthand, and I've lost some close friends, and I see what their parents go through, and I am getting emotional talking about it. But I remember JB rang me up. His son Beckham was sick. This was, I think, a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, really sick, and Paige was in and out of hospital. And man, I couldn't sleep. Like, you know, you just feel helpless. So if you can do those little things and get involved and let them know that we're fighting for them in the way we can, seriously, it's you can't put a price on that. I appreciate you need to have fast bikes and need to focus on being competitive, and we have a sense of responsibility to provide that to our riders. But yeah, we're just lucky. We're doing what we love. Whoever thought we were going to do this for a job when we were growing up on mini bikes, and now we're getting to do that. And yeah, you got to be paid your worth, but you do need to check yourself sometimes. We're pretty fortunate.
I agree, man. I'm gonna turn and shift gears here a second because you mentioned injuries that you've had. We should compare files. I'll bet you together we could do some damage. But my question is, because I've heard rumors that you're a crazy fitness person, and I just want to know how, man. Like I could do a little bit to keep myself going, but I know you've had some injuries, and from what I understand, you're not afraid to get out there and grind pretty hard.
I love training. So if I'm transparent, my weight fluctuates. My dad's a big bloke, and I need to stay fit to keep the weight off. But I love pushing myself. I still love riding at least a couple of times a week if I can. But yeah, I'm up at my routine's pretty simple. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I try to answer a few emails from Europe or America, I'll put an hour and a half of training in, and then I'll finish work at like 4 o'clock, and then I'll put another hour and a half of training in. I'm just motivated. It keeps me going. Like I love pushing. It's like going to America, Daniel. I look in the mirror and I just like, if you're going to do it, just challenge yourself. You can do it. There's nothing stopping you. And for those that don't do it, it doesn't make a difference. Like, I don't judge anyone. It's just, it's the thing that keeps me going. It reminds me that I'm alive, and that if I want to put one step forward, I can. And then, yeah, but I love running. I thoroughly love it. And I love pushing myself. And we're actually training to do a 50K run in the next 3 weeks. So the week after I turn 46, I'll do a 50K run. I've done a half marathon, a marathon, and yeah, I want to push for a 50K run. I don't know how I feel afterwards. These little legs don't run as fast as I'd like them to, but yeah, I really enjoy it. I love being pushed. I've been doing a lot of sprint work and trying to get my times down. And Brayton's the most competitive dude out there. It kills me. So he'll be like, man, that wasn't fast. So I'll go out and push myself further, and it's good. I mean, it's good to know you're alive and your body can be pushed. But as for injuries, I've had, I think, 17 operations. My neck's fused, my arms, radius and ulnar, I broke 7 times. I've had 8 operations to try and get them right. It was difficult wiping my bum at one stage. But, you know, you still get back up and do it again. Again, that's where you feel blessed to be able to walk away from those crashes and be able to do what you love again and again and again. Crashed last weekend, if you guys can all see it.
I see it. I'm still confused over the 50K. Like, what are you doing? 50K. Come on, man. That's a lot of suffering. You must like to suffer, because that can't be fun. I know it's fulfilling, but it's not fun. I
like to know that you can do it. Like, you know, and I'm not a cyclist. I'm not a guy that puts on spandex and cycles for 3 hours. I don't have 3 hours up my sleeve, and I just like to pound the pavement and just push myself. And yeah, I thoroughly love it. I mean, if I unhook you just for a second for everyone at home, this is, I'm fortunate enough to have a gym here in the workshop, and you can sort of see the semi there in the corner. But yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have this, and I'm in there every morning and every night. And yeah, I'm lucky one of our sponsors, Plus Fitness, like your Planet Fitness, gets right behind us and helped us build this gym. It's been good.
That's awesome. Hey, let's talk about 21 a little bit. Still putting the program together. I know it's not all done. I know there's a few things that you're trying to settle down, but you got the number 10, and you got a long relationship with him, not only as a you know, for racing reasons, but as a friend. I mean, how happy are you? You got to be stoked, right? You got your guy. You're going into 21 with your guy.
I'm happy, but I'm nervous.
Why?
You know, I'll say this, and I'll say this forever and a day. I still think Justin Brayton can win races. I really do. He went out at A1 at the start of this year and won the heat race. I think Kenny and Tomac were in that race. You don't do that without skill. Like, I think it's underestimated that his real capabilities, and I think that sometimes has shadowed his true potential. Like, he hasn't been expected to win every weekend. So I'm definitely nervous, because I'm the guy that's telling him after every weekend, dude, you can win. You know, break down the track, look at what you did here and here, look at what the bike was doing, look at the video footage. And we've been doing that since the year after he left his first year with us to America. We would talk only minutes sometimes after a race, or at least that night when he got back to the motel room, because I'd be glued to the TV watching it live. And sometimes by the time he called me, I'd watched it again. And yeah, so there's a sense of nervousness where I look at it and go, okay, well, now there's an expectation on me to deliver for him, because I believe he can deliver for the race team. but there's also a sense of pride that he rang me up because he had other offers. Many people probably don't know that, but he had other people ringing him. We're talking about a top 10 guy that can put it on the podium and consistently be in the top 5 with a good start. And he's like, do you want to do this together? And I'm like, do you really want to do this together? We have a good thing here in Australia. And he's like, man, I've wanted to do this together for a long time. And he's like, do you have a spot for me on the team? Because we had a lot of people calling during Supercross, and they would call him to get my number. So all these riders would be calling in him, and he's like, so do you have a spot for me? And to be quite frank, anyone and everyone that was speaking to us during that time, I was straight up with and said, well, JB's my priority. He's the one that I'm thinking of first. He's been loyal to me. He's helped open some doors. He's helped create some credibility for our program in America. So am I excited? Yeah, definitely very excited. Am I nervous? Yeah, damn straight I'm nervous. Like, he knows what he's capable of doing. I know what he's capable of doing. And now there is pressure on me, pressure that we have every year, but to deliver a program for him to be able to continue to reach his potential every weekend. So we've been doing a lot of work in the background. He's been testing a lot. He hasn't been uploading a lot of things because we're just trying to finalize some of our sponsors and put the last little bits together. But I've kept him at bay with social media, which I'm usually very active on, but we've been very careful about what we upload. And he has been working diligently in the background with me to sort of finalize some sponsorships and also to do a lot of testing on the bike. So yeah, it's exciting. He's very involved. And as much as at times I sort of say to him, focus on your riding, he likes that side of business. A lot of people probably don't realize how astute he is in business. He's been very clever with his finances. He's invested well. And during all of this time, he's still been able to go out and win Daytona, win heat races, put it on the podium. So he's found that balance where he can do both. So I'm comfortable with that I don't believe him working on the program with me detracts from what he needs to do on the bike. But yeah, am I excited? 100%. But I'm nervous. There is an expectation that I need to deliver, and we're working closely on making sure that we are both capable of doing that.
That's great. And obviously it's got to give you some boost in confidence knowing that he wanted you. I mean, he, like you said, he specifically made this happen too, and that's got to bode well for you and the sponsors, knowing that Justin Brayton, the Daytona race winner, a guy who could still do it, decided that he wanted to be there. And that, again, that goes back to your relationship and what you guys have done over the years. So you proved to him and he's proved to you. And I think that's why those relationships matter. And there's a chemistry needed to have success, I think, between a rider and a team. And it's like you guys are starting a brand new thing together here in America, but there's so much history where it's been good. So I think that bodes well for both of you for sure.
We were at A1 this year and he walked into our truck and he was like a proud father, even though I'm older than him. He's looking around, he's going, man, you've done this. And he sent me a text message that night going, super proud of you. You should be proud of yourself. I felt so proud to see you in the pits. I've been telling everyone how professional you are and your capabilities of delivering, and, our integrity is intact and well done. And he constantly would remind me that literally every weekend, particularly if I was having some self-doubt of where we were going. But yeah, it's super cool. It's definitely a huge step with us going into the 450 class. It's a competitive class with some amazing talent, but it's super cool, that's for sure, to be able to do it with him. Parker, Beckham, Page, his family is my family. So, when I went there last year, I stayed at their place and did some riding at Club MX. As I said, I still love riding, and JB organised some stuff and a bike and a few other bits and pieces, and Duff had the bike prepared, and the boys here in my workshop sent some stuff over. So there's more to this than me just hiring a rider. We both have a long game, and if things go well, hopefully we're doing things together. Who knows? It could be, because Justin will have his name first, but there could be Brayton Konsky Racing in the future. Who knows?
You're leading me right into my last question. Everything I've heard from you today is again, competitive, go for it. Like you said, October, seat bounce, just go. Like, we're going to do this thing. But I know you got a long game in your head. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what's your team look like? What's your results look like? What are you chasing? What's that carrot that's dangling in front of you that you're chasing? Because I know it's more than just being here. I know it's something bigger.
I'm not. You get nervous about speaking about your long-term goals, not because you might not achieve them, but people out there probably think you're a dreamer. But you need to be a dreamer in life. You need. I mean, the one thing we were taught as kids is mental rehearsal, whether it's on the bike or off the bike, always thinking about things and making them real. I mean, I'm going to put pressure back on Feld as well. I want to see Feld have a global program. I mean, I look at MotoGP as a sport, and I see what Marc Marquez is paid relative to what Ken Roczen's paid, and I don't think that's got anything to do with the fact that one is a MotoGP bike and the other is a motocross bike. I just believe that that's global reach and a much wider audience and a bigger TV audience. And I'd like to see Feld grow the sport into a global phenomenon. I mean, we got the Supercross here in Melbourne that had 40-odd thousand people. There's Supercross successful in Germany. Supercross is successful in the UK. You see all of the Americans go over Barsha, Stewart, Brayton to France, to Bercy. You got Geneva. So we already have a global footprint, but it's not under one umbrella. So I hope in the next 5 years, whether it's licensed out or Feld take it, we truly have a world Supercross championship, and our riders are becoming global phenomenons. We talked about Jett Lawrence. He's going to be great for our sport, and I'd like to be a part of that growth and be there when that growth happens. They always say in business that once you get to a certain size, the only way to grow is to reach a new audience, and there is a global audience for Supercross, which I think is fantastic, and I hope that does happen, and I hope I'm there for it. I've got no qualms in working for other people, even though I have my own business. So whether or not I'm working with a manufacturer in-house or a manufacturer, I'm hoping it's Honda. I've been with Honda for 18 years, or it's outhouse and it's set up similar to NASCAR or IndyCar, where teams have ownership, and there's more integration between Feld and the teams. I don't know. All I know is I want to be in sport, be in Supercross. I love it. I work in supercars here in Australia, it's identical to NASCAR in terms of its form of controlled, call it stock car racing. We call it touring car racing. I have a position with one of the teams here in Australia I've been with for 4 years. And I love competition. As you said, I'm super competitive. I hate losing. I can't stand it. I always like to try and figure out how we can be better week in, week out. But in 5 years' time, I hope I'm heading up a factory program or a bigger program, and we're contending for a Supercross championship. And if you don't have that goal, then you shouldn't be in the sport. This isn't a hobby for me. It's something that I love as a pastime, but commercially I have responsibilities. If Fly, for example, gives me $5 and a set of riding gear, they want results from it. So if I'm not aiming for up here, then I shouldn't ask for $5 and a set of riding gear. So yeah, in 5 years' time, I hope I have a team that's contending for a Supercross championship. But I'm going to say this. I really hope that Justin and I in the 450 class are contending for podium finishes, because he's more than capable. Mitchell Oldenburg is capable of winning Supercross. Phenomenal talent. As you have already come forth and said, injuries get in the way of our sport in terms of progression and getting results. Mitchell got hurt. Even this year, he was racing injured. He had his knee operated on following the final round. And you can't not but love that guy, because he raced Supercross to support us and our sponsors injured. He took it upon himself to make that decision, and that's why I've stuck by him and remained loyal, because super talented young guy, and I think we haven't even seen the best of him yet. So I hope we're racing for race wins this year, but ultimately, I'll say over the next 5 years, not in 5 years, but we're racing to win a Supercross championship. I shouldn't be doing this job if that's what I'm not aiming for. So, you know, that's where I want to be.
I respect that, man. If you knew my my long-term dream, you'd laugh, but you'd laugh because you'd be like, I'm just like you.
What is your Daniel, what is your long-term dream? Be honest.
I mean, mine's psychotic and crazy, but I want to be play-by-play in the NFL football.
Why is it crazy?
Because I'm a 5'5" little gimpy dude who's never played football. So
You seen that movie Ruby? Is it Ruby? Is that the one?
Rudy, yeah. See, I don't like Rudy. I'm like the Rudy of commentators.
But you should just go for it. Like, it's so hard where people don't like seeing other people succeed, and they're worried about other people's dreams and goals because everyone wants to keep you on this level. And I suppose, to finish this off, I'm just a guy whose parents immigrated from Israel to Australia when they were really young. And I've grown up in Australia. My middle name's Bob. I was an Israeli kid that went to a Catholic school. My dad drove a taxi and then ended up, honestly, picking up rubbish in a garbage truck to make a living to get us to the racetrack. And I'm getting emotional again, and I'm at A1. And if I took it on board what everyone said, including my dad was concerned about me having these dreams that we didn't have the money to achieve, then I don't know, I'd probably be working in an office for someone else and doing proposals and sketches and scripts for other people instead of for my own dreams. So I'm glad you're open and honest about it. And it's never silly to have a dream, ever silly to have a dream. And I can't wait to get back to we won't be at A1, which is weird for everyone, but I can't wait.
H1.
I can't wait to be at H1 this year. And I'm super thankful that Feld has pulled together a hybrid Supercross program, because I can just imagine the risks they're taking to ensure that we have a continued program going into next year where there is still uncertainty. And one thing's for sure, we'll be there.
Right on, Yarrive. Thank you, man. I appreciate the time, and I like the way you think. I still don't agree on the 50K, but hey, good luck with it, and I'll see you at H1.
As long as I'm alive following the 50K, I'll be there.
Well, good luck with it, man. I'll see you soon.
No worries. Thanks, everyone. See you all at H1.